Welcome back, everybody. We are actually just walking into this stream with some pretty important price action on BTC. So I'm going to start there. The last time we did this stream last Tuesday, we were all the way down here at the bottom, the turning point of this new rally that we've been seeing for the last week or so. Yeah, about a week to the day. And we broke this important supply line coming down off the initial drop back in May. And we've been rallying ever since. The entry on this trade was up this bullish bat harmonic here down at the PCZ, which looking left was a real important area as well, because that was our low from January 22nd. That was also right around our low from June 22nd. And at the same time as we were hitting those lows, we had Class C bullish divergence on the MACD and on the RSI. The whole world was screaming that it was over, that, you know, Bitcoin was going down to $13,000, yada, yada, etc. And if you took the chance at the lowest risk area of this entire rectangle, this trading zone we've been in for the last couple months, you were handsomely rewarded, because we went from about $29,000 all the way up to $40,000, which was an area where traders would have taken profits. We did retrace off that high a little bit here. We came back down. We tested the top of this resistance at the top of the bullish bat harmonic, and we found support. We have bounced back up since then, and right now is a real critical area. We have bullishly engulfed on the 4-hour. Potentially the 4-hour hasn't closed just yet. You got another hour. But it looks like we have once again found a little bit of resistance at 39,432. But if you look down here on the 4-hour, you've got the 4-hour MACD. You got the tiniest little bit of negative momentum that came in. Real pathetic attempt from the bears to drive this asset back down. But again, you know, if you were taking a long position here, you do have a price to lean on. I really like this 36,600 zone. You got a wick just a little bit below it, so that would probably be where I would put my stop loss entering a new position here. Not exactly the lowest risk area because of the fact that we are up at the top of the range, but from where we're at down to that stop loss, you got about a 6% risk. Or you could also use 37.8, but you're more likely to get stopped out with about 4% drawdown there. Now this area is very important. If we break above the top of this zone, it's going to be straight up from here. And the reason why I say that is you got to look at the history of this asset. And the only history we have between the top of this range and above is straight up, straight down. So if you're using history, you know, to try to figure out where this asset is going to go afterwards, if it does break this zone, you know, the first place I'm looking is about $48,000. We might see a little bit of resistance here around 46. But time will tell. I mean, you could consider 58 a real viable price target as well, because looking here on the daily, I was on the daily, I'm sorry. Looking on the daily chart, it's just a straight line up from there. And again, looking at it back here in May, you went straight up and you came straight down. So if we break above this zone, history doesn't have to repeat itself, but generally it rhymes, and that would be the two price points that I'm looking at. The reason why I like this 48.9 area is because you do have, you see that it was respected here. It was a wick high back here in February. And again, after we retraced off our all-time highs, that's right where it stopped. When we retraced off of this, this lower high in May, same thing. You got a little bit of hesitation here before coming all the way back down. So 48.9 would be an area I'm watching, but realistically, I would not be surprised if we go straight up to 58. And, we did talk a couple weeks back, we talked about the Wyckoff accumulation. And the reason why this price action we've gotten in the last week or so is important, because if we were following Wyckoff, initially we were looking at this area right here, June 22nd, as the spring. But we never really got a candle close down there. There was so much buy pressure in that zone that we never closed in that area. We never came close, and we just continued to have this asset just continued to make lower highs, lower lows over and over again. The bears they had control. They've had control since May. But obviously they lost control because this asset has appreciated a total of about 33% from our entry last week on stream. And it right now has no sign of slowing down. So this is important. This is definitely something I'm keeping an eye on. But again, what I was talking about with the Wyckoff accumulation of this could be looked at as the spring up, right? We made that low July 20th. That was actually the day we did our stream last week, and you just got this. This would be looked at as the sign of strength. Then you come back down, you accumulate a little bit, you consolidate in this zone. Bears were not able to push this asset down below our old resistance at 36.5. So that would be old resistance is now confirmed for now as support. But with that being said, I do want to look at a couple ETH, the same thing right now. Ethereum, same thing. We're getting potentially, again, this 4-hour candle has not closed yet, but it is trying to engulf our previous 4-hour, and it is trying to break above this zone at 2280, which is important because it has been respected time and time again as resistance, as support, as resistance. And right now we're breaking above that. That would be important, because if we do get confirmation of support above that level, you could be looking at next zone I would keep an eye on would be around 26. And you got a little bit of chop here at 24. Yeah, historically you got this choppy zone between 24 and 26. That's where I would be looking at for a next target on Ethereum. One asset I have posted about a couple times in the Discord and on my Twitter, which is Trade Nomadic. If you want to follow me there, I post all of these charts every day. But I'm looking at PTE, Polarity TE Inc. We've got this harmonic. After a deep retrace, you got this XABCD structure at its pattern completion zone, which is an 88.6% retrace off of our highs up at about 191. And also, if you look back here, looking left on the daily, we are back above 78 cents, which is a very important zone. We did have this double bottom back here in between March and May. But if you look at the price action correlation after we found support above that zone, you got this immediate impulse all the way up to about 158, and we ultimately ended up here above 173, and 173 is probably where I'm looking at, because that is where, after this massive drop back here in March, that's where we ended up. We got this candle close here and on 15th of July 2020. That's also our A point on the XABCD. And the reason why I like, I could take a look at ELF, Chris. I got a few I'm going to go over real quick, and I'll put that one on the list. You're talking about Elfie Inc., the stock, right? But what I like about this zone right here, not only is that the pattern completion zone after an 88.6% retrace, if you look down here on the MACD, price action was coming down since about January 27th, but at the same time, you are making less negative momentum on the MACD, which would be considered bullish divergence, which means the bears have lost control. They're unable to push this asset down any further. We are just now getting our first little bit of positive momentum coming in today. Not only that, but as we were completing this formation, we were also oversold. We did show, let me see, I think we've got, you got arguable Class C bullish divergence here, or hidden bullish divergence, because you did make a lower low on the RSI, but you were making a higher price on the chart here. So this is not only a very, very low risk area to take along on this asset, but it's an important inflection point historically on this asset, and you have an edge showing you that there is impending price action to the upside, and that's really positive. Anything above 78 cents is great. Anything above 70 cents I would still consider a very, very low risk area to take a long position on PTE. I could take a look at those, not a problem, brother. Another one I'm watching here, we talked about Mara and Riot, and again, these are assets that if we do see some positive price action here on Bitcoin, Mara and Riot are probably going to run again. I think they were up about 20-something%. And we talked about this one on stream being last Tuesday, being at a very critical area with, you got bullish convergence on the MACD, you had Class C bullish divergence on the RSI, and we were targeting in the Discord and on my Twitter. I believe I posted this one on Twitter as well, but I'm really got my eye on this $31 zone, above that 38, and then up here at the top of this XABCD we formed back between February and May. That would be, you know, my moon target, right? You know, I would definitely be taking some profits at that $31 zone, and again at 38. But I would definitely leave a small position if Bitcoin rallies to 58 or 48 or any significant move above the range we were talking about. I would not expect this asset to do anything different. The same goes for Riot. That's another one. Riot I like. About $37 would be my initial target. I did take a position on both Mara and Riot last Tuesday after the stream. Above 37, I do like 56, and again at 71. But remember, you know, unless Bitcoin really gets going, this asset's not going to be, you know, performing. And you can't expect it to reach these levels without Bitcoin playing ball. ETC is a good one. I like ETC, and I think especially with Ethereum moving off of proof of work, I think a lot of miners are going to turn to ETC. And with ETC being a heavily mined crypto asset, that's going to be nothing positive. They don't mine it because they expect the price to go down. They mine it because they will drive that price up and sell it to you as long as people are buying it. BTT is another one that I always play when Bitcoin does well. And we talked about this one. I believe I posted this one on Twitter a few days ago. Literally the day before it ran up 108%. So if you follow me on Twitter and you saw me post this BTT Bit Digital, you were handsomely rewarded, because not only was it in a very, very low risk area, but you could see price action coming down. You hit that 1618 fib retracement. You had bullish divergence on the MACD. And the RSI was extremely oversold. The most oversold this asset has been since 2019, right? That's about as low risk as it gets. I'm actually going over BT right now. If we do break above this $9 zone, the next major zone I'm going to be looking at, you know, you want to look at this historical price action back here from December. But also we got a couple touches here at 1894 between March and April. That would probably be an area I would keep an eye on. Above that, you know, you could look at 22. But if, like I said, if Bitcoin really gets going, I would be keeping an eye on this $29 zone as a final target for BT. You know, we did see a massive sell-off today, but that can be expected. These assets run when Bitcoin runs, and Bitcoin got rejected at the top of the range. So you know, that was our first target on BT, and not only was it hit, but it sold off right afterwards. And that's why you always want to take profits if you have a couple different zones you're looking at. Palantir is another one I'm keeping an eye on. You know, we've got, if you look down here on the MACD, you're making higher swing lows. You've got higher levels of negative momentum. This is not bullish divergence. It's hidden bullish divergence, which is a continuation indication, right? That this implies that this asset, after making this low here, is going to continue to the upside. And you kind of got this arguable complex inverse head and shoulders pattern as well. I really like the look of that. But again, anything above, I mean, you could even lower this down a little bit to about anything above 20 bucks is good for me. I like this $21 zone just because of this candle close we got back here in the fall. And then you got this wick down, you got this almost Marabazoo in March. You can see there's just a lot of respect for that level, and we're above it, which is important. And we're just about to start showing positive momentum on the MACD. Maybe a couple days if Bitcoin really takes off. Palantir is another one that this asset will appreciate with Bitcoin. What was the other one? Gevo is another one. Gevo Inc. is another one I'm keeping an eye on. We've got hidden bullish divergence on the MACD. You're making a higher low after a momentum shifting structure that appeared after this massive sell-off. And this XABCD harmonic here, this implies, you know, after a sell-off, you'll see these XABCD patterns show up, and it's a momentum shifting structure. This implies upside. You got the higher low, that implies accumulation. You got hidden bullish divergence, which implies a continuation of this bullish move to the upside. You know, the price action today kind of stunk. You know, we did break back below this zone. Well, actually, if you're looking back here to this wick low, from March. We're attempting to close above that, which is very positive. Amazon's another one I'm keeping an eye on. This is one we talked about on stream a while ago. I think you got to sell off today. You know, when they announced that they have not acquired any Bitcoin at this point, whether you believe that or not, you're gonna find out real quick on Thursday, because if they do have any intent, if they have acquired any Bitcoin, whether it's on their balance sheet or for any type of e-commerce stuff, they would have to talk about that during the earnings report on Thursday. So that's one I'm keeping an eye on. And I might be wrong about Palantir, but I believed Palantir is another brand that was going to add Bitcoin to their balance sheet, or I forget. There was something to do with Bitcoin. I think they announced that a couple months ago. Whether it was something to do with mining, to be honest, I don't remember exactly what. I just remember the news. But you know, that's something you might want to do your own diligence on. I may be wrong for that one. Oops. But let me see. What were you talking about, Chris? What was that ticker? ELF. All right. Let me see here. Well, not a whole lot of information on the daily chart here as far as these oscillators go, but you are losing your negative momentum on the daily chart for ELF. I think somebody brought this one up on stream before, and it looks like, well, I really like this area right here. Anything above that 994 area is bullish to me. Not only that, but on the daily here, you are attempting to engulf our last daily candle completely. Regardless, that would still be considered a piercing line reversal, which is a Japanese candlestick pattern that implies a reversal to the upside. And losing that negative momentum is looking good. Let me look at the 4 hour here for you. I like the 4 hour chart because you kind of got making lower prices. You were making lower prices, and at the same time, you were not able to make lower levels of negative momentum, which is Class C bullish divergence, and you did get a reaction to the upside after that. And again, anything above that 994 area is nice. I do like that. I would look up to about probably 1180 would be, you know, a potential place that traders are taking profit at. But realistically, if you're really trying to swing for the damn, what's that saying? Swing for the fences. If you really want to swing for the fences on this asset, you look back here to January or June 22nd. The last time we broke above this 782 area and above this 923 area, you went straight up to 1622. And that could be a realistic target for this asset if you do start breaking some of these resistance lines that we talked about. On BT, you know, that chart looks so good, man. I should have. I went in on it. I went in pretty good, but my conviction wasn't there because, again, it's tough to really have conviction on an asset when it relies on another asset. Because BT looks so good. It looks so good, but you know, the problem with this asset and any of the other Bitcoin sympathy stocks is, you know, even as good as this chart looked, if Bitcoin sold off, if it didn't make the move it made, this asset wouldn't have performed the way it did. And you got to keep that in mind. But again, being at such a low risk area down there, you know, it was hard to turn it up. And if you're looking, if you want to know how to react to this asset where we're at now, you know, we're on the 4-hour chart. You kind of got this almost a 3 rising method pattern here. Let me see. Why is it getting such a nice reaction at that zone? So as long as BT that digital stays above that 595 zone, you totally engulfed the previous candle, the previous 4-hour candle. And realistically, I'd like to see it get back above this zone at about 689, because that is the point of control on the 4-hour chart, based on the volume profile over here. But again, if Bitcoin runs, this asset is going to run too. And if you were looking to, you know, put a stop loss, if you wanted to take a position on this asset, I would just put, you know, depending on what your risk tolerance is, you could put a stop loss at about 567, just under this wick low here on the last 4-hour candle, and that would keep you safe. You don't have too much at risk at that point, I don't think. Well, it doesn't look like much, but you're still looking at about a 15% risk. But again, that's something you could layer in on. You know, if it doesn't break up, if Bitcoin doesn't start to make a move, you know, this asset might come back down and, you know, retest this lower area at about 587, and you could layer in, you know, you could accumulate between these two zones and wait. And, you know, again, I expect Bitcoin to rise much higher than it's at where it's at for the rest of the year. So maybe not go all in. I would never recommend doing that on any asset, but you can definitely acquire a position in these zones, even with how much it's risen up. And you just want to swing for, if you're going to put that much at risk for an asset, you know, you're going to want to swing. If BT really gets going, I mean, my price target for this asset would be even this $13 zone. I like a lot, right? Because you got this wick high, you got this wick down here, you got support, resistance at about 1245, which would give you, even from you know, where we're at, 1245 is about an 85% increase in value. And if you go all the way up to 18, you're looking at 180% gains on this asset. And historically, that's what this asset did. You know, the only price action we have above that $9 zone, well, you got that 1245 zone historically is important too, all the way back here to February 2019. So that would probably be a more realistic first target. And, you know, maybe leave a little bit in there for 1894 if it really gets going. Yeah, Bitcoin definitely has to rally for, you know, any of them stocks that are tied to Bitcoin, like Riot, like Mara, like SOS, BT. MicroStrategy is another one that we did really good on. You know, now that Bitcoin's got its feet and took off, I got a whole list of them. I'm probably going to post them on Twitter again after this stream. You know, just stocks to keep an eye on. You could, I like to take them stocks and kind of create a little basket. You know, every time Bitcoin really starts to be at a point where it's going to, you know, make a rally or make a big move to the upside, you know, get a small position in some of these stocks. You know, especially if you got an edge on the chart as well. You know, that way you know, you're not going all in on one asset, and you get to capitalize on you know, the crypto move in general. Riot at 3. If you're still holding from $3, man, you're not doing too bad at all. Most of my charts, just because of ease of use, I use Twitter. I have my own Discord community, and that's something, you know, you could find on my Twitter as well. But as far as, you know, just quick charting and stuff like that, Twitter is my go-to just because it's real easy to use. Let me see if I got. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Trade Nomadic. But again, nothing I post on Twitter is investment advice. I do want to make, I do want to bring that up. You know, it's just trade ideas. And Noah, yeah, I could take a look at Silvergate Capital, SI. Because the thing about, and you know, all technical analysis, it's not predicting the future. It's just, you know, you're giving yourself an edge, and it gives you. I'm sorry, I'm distracted by this chart. This don't look bad. It does look like you're cooling off a little bit here on SI on the 4 hour, but I do like where it's at right now. Yeah, you see this? Looking back here to January 29th on Silvergate Capital, you've got this wick high at 102.76. You've got this wick down to 102.76. And you can see, look at this price action correlation of that zone. And if you were trying to, and you see, you fell below it. And at that point below there, you've got the MACD showing less levels of negative momentum. You know, that would have been a great entry, but you do have a level to lean on up here. Under 102.76, I would get worried, but right now it looks like it's holding, and it looks like you've got a nice engulfing candle follow through, right? This would be your spring. You break that resistance, you come back down, and you test it as support. Now, if you're looking for a target on Silvergate Capital, I'm going to look back here to February. The last time we broke above 102.76 in February, you've got this zone at 113, but that's not a real equitable trade at this point, I don't think. You know, I would look, the major inflection point I would look for on this asset would probably be 128, all right? Because once we broke above 102.76, you went just about, I bet on the daily, you probably went straight. Yeah, you basically went straight up. But not only did you go straight up to this point and then gap up, but you came back down with this wick here, February 10th. So after you broke that resistance, you then identified it as support. Not only there, but again, February 23rd, you got a couple different times. But I also like that 128 because look, once you fell below that zone, you know, you accumulated underneath it and broke it again. And when you fell underneath it, you hooked back up on the downside. So after it was considered support, you then considered it resistance after that. So 128.91 would be my target personally if I was taking a long position on this asset, because also you could kind of look at this as, you know, you got your impulse up, you got your consolidation, and then if you were going to copy and paste, you know, almost like a bull pull bull flag, right? Impulse up, consolidation, impulse up. It lines up perfectly with 128.91. That would be my target. Above that for Silvergate Capital, I also like this zone up here. You see a lot of price action correlation to 160. And you know, you could kind of interpret this as, you know, once you broke above that zone that we just back tested as support, you know, and we didn't get any major rejection until this zone up here. at 158. You know, you could, that's being conservative. You know, you got a wick all the way up to 164, but if you want to be conservative, you could even drop that down to about 155. You know, you broke above it, you got rejected, and then you've got this rejection here. And same thing, you know, this zone, you know, you could kind of look at it as an inflection point. You know, anything above that, you didn't get much support. This is definitely an area that I would look at for traders to take profit. Anything, I usually set my targets a little bit below, you know, just so I can make sure I can get my order off. Let me see, especially with an asset like Silvergate Capital, because ideally for swing traders, for you know, you want the liquidity, and this asset is only getting about 500,000 volume. I really like to, you know, trade with assets above 1 million. So if you're, you know, really swinging for the fences on this asset, you want to get out a little bit before everybody else, just to ensure that your orders get filled. I would definitely, you know, 154, 128. That's where I think it would eventually be headed if we stay above 102.76. I do have my own YouTube channel. Usually I do private streams for my Discord community, but that is something I have been looking into doing more often. I would like to do a nightly stream. I just want to build up the community a little bit more. You know, and if you know, if I do a stream, it would be posted on my Twitter. So anyone who's following me on Twitter, you're going to see that. SI is a crypto stock. Silvergate Capital. Silvergate, how's that related to crypto? I'm not familiar with it. Yeah, analysis, it's not a prediction. It's just, you know, all these areas of support and resistance are zones that traders set it up. And you know, if anyone taking positions, this is the data that they're going to go with, looking for targets and looking for support. You know, technical analysis it gives you a better edge than you would normally have trading. You know, and especially my thing with swing trading, I like to do 3 to 1. And that gives you an edge too, because if you're taking 3 to 1 trades, which means you're hey, Klein Lee made it. I do 3 to 1 because you can take 3 to 1 trades, and if you're right once, you're still gonna make money. And that's I like using the long position tool on TradingView or on Benzinga Pro, because it'll tell you, you know, if you're risking, if that trade right there that we were just talking about here on Silvergate Capital, you know, if you stop out underneath this support that we're at right now, you're risking about 3%. And that first zone we're looking at 128 is 25%. So that's actually a 7 to 1 trade. You might not get that lucky. You might end up getting up to 118 and getting some traders taking profit. But even that is a 4 to 1 trade. And if you're always risking, you know, 1/3 of, you know, your potential profit, you're going to do good because it gives you a better edge. You know, if you just throw a dart at the wall on a trade, you got a 50-50 chance. It's either going to go up or go down. If you're doing 3 to 1 trades, that gives you an edge better than 50-50. And the more edge you got, the better off you're going to be. And, you know, when you got indicators like this telling you, you know, if you're at a support level and you've got bullish divergence on the MACD, on the RSI, you know, that's just one more ingredient that gives you, you know, an edge up from any other trader who doesn't use this type of stuff. It's not a promise, you know, stuff fails, but that's that's the reason why you take 3-to-1 trades, because if your trade fails twice and you make one home run trade, that's all you need. Can you catch you on trading? Silvergate Capital created this. Yeah. Way of trading. If Silvergate Capital is linked to crypto, this is definitely an asset that if Bitcoin really gets its feet, I don't know where we're at. This is definitely an asset that would run with it. Anything, any sympathy stock, any, asset that's linked to Bitcoin, and that includes altcoins, that includes everything. The entire crypto market will take off if Bitcoin takes off. But we really want to see Bitcoin break above this top of the range here. It's real important. So far, we're doing good. We consolidated, we came back down, and we retested the resistance back here at 36.6. What was once resistance is now support. And on this 4-hour chart, we bullishly engulfed our entire last 4-hour candle and some. But you can't really get too excited until we break the top of the range. And if we break the top of the range, going straight up to 48. And we know this because of historical price action correlation between these two zones. History doesn't have to repeat, but it rhymes most of the time. And again, technical analysis gives you these zones. It tells you where traders set up their positions. This is places where traders are going to take profit. And support is going to be places where you'll see a turnaround. And it, like I said, it just gives you an edge. None of this stuff is guaranteed, but it's a hell of a lot better than just guessing. Let me see another one I was looking at. Let me see how ETH is doing. ETH is back below that 2279 zone, but it's really trying. You're still losing negative momentum here on the 4-hour chart. You do have hidden bullish divergence, which means there is a continuation attempt to the upside of this bullish trend. I must have good timing there, TG. I'm not sure when the date for the upgrade is going to be, but if it's a deflationary upgrade, like they're talking about, that's got to be nothing but positive for the asset. You might get a reaction because of the fact that proof of work is you're not going to have miners driving up the price. But if it's a deflationary asset, any asset that is deflationary over time is it's meant to gain in value. The scarcity is a driving factor in an asset's appreciation, and that's what makes Bitcoin itself lucrative over time, because you can't inflate Bitcoin. You can't. It's fraud proof. It's censorship proof. And the more supply that's bought, that's taken off of exchanges, is going to drive Bitcoin's price up over time. And that's why a lot of these corporations look at it. It's a place you can put your money where the government cannot debase it. They cannot inflate. They can't inflate Bitcoin. It's censorship proof. Yeah, I could take a look at Vaxart. Let me see. Let me get a bigger time scale here. Vaxart's in a good place. I mean, I'm on the weekly chart here, so this isn't going to give you any kind of short-term edge, but you almost got this. You can kind of look at this as a real big inverse head and shoulders type structure. But if we break it back down to the daily chart here, same idea, right? This is definitely an accumulation structure here. And you're right above this point of control on the volume profile here for Vaxart. And historically, if you break above, let me zoom in. What is it? This is a biotech stock. Yeah, the chart's real choppy, but you're right at a real important point here. Because look at the price action correlation above this zone. You know, once you broke above this zone, you got this. I like that level up here at about 1189. You got this wick up to it back here in 2017. And then if we're looking a little bit more locally, you got this candle close at about 1148. Again, you wicked up above it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. And essentially that's the history of this asset. Once you get support at about 790, which you have, I'm going to break it down to the 4-hour chart here a little bit deeper. You know, you could even look at up here at about 1726. It's a real choppy chart, but you got a lot of upside if it holds up in this zone above 790. That's why I keep breaking up to these higher time frames, because of how much chop there is in this asset. Yeah, I kind of like this. Between about 1189 and 13 bucks would probably be my first target. And then up again at 1726 looks good. Free Frank, yeah, I'm bullish on Bitcoin, especially if it holds up at these levels we've been looking at. You know, long term, of course, but even short term. But you know, if we're looking for a lot more upside on Bitcoin, we got to break the top of this range, and it's attempting to do that where we're at right now. You know, we found support at about 36.6. You got support again at 37.8, and you've engulfed on the 4-hour chart. You know, real nice run up, but you have faced a little bit of rejection at 39.432. But that being said, once you break 39, you know, you could even look up here to about 42,000. You know, is the top of the range, but anything above 4,500 to me, I think you're going to go straight up to 48. I mean, you could, if you're looking at the daily chart, man, once you break above this zone, once you break above $40,500, you're going to go straight up. That's the only history we got. You got straight up, straight up, straight down, straight down. So those would be the price targets for Bitcoin if you break above this zone. And yeah, I'm bullish Bitcoin long term. It's, you know, I heavily invested. None of this is trading advice, by the way. I got to throw that in a couple times. Which resistance levels you talking about? You talking about 48 and 57, or yeah, I think that's where we're talking about 48, 9, 57, 7. Yeah, these are zones where you're going to have traders taking profit, and especially short-term traders, right? You're going to have a lot of people that aren't selling in those areas, but because of how many people are probably underwater from this choppy trading we've been in, and even from this sell-off, you know, back in May, you're going to have traders, you know, the first chance they get to get their head above water, they're probably going to take some profits. And that's probably what you're seeing here. You know, you probably had a lot of people excited about this run. You know, they finally got, you know, above water. They got some profits in their account, and they want to get out. You probably had people doing the same thing down here, you know, the lower end of the range. You know, nobody knew if we were coming up to the top of the range or not. And like I said, you're going to have a lot of people with paper hands trying to get out. Yeah, you know, if you're talking long term, you know, I think we're going to be going way higher than, you know, 48.9 and 57.8. But the idea behind taking profits in these zones is you might hit these zones and, you know, retrace a little bit. You might get up to these zones, and the same thing we did here. You know, if you're trying to get short-term trades in, you might be able to get some profits, catch the, you know, the retracement, add to your position at a lower price, ultimately giving you a better cost basis for this asset. And you could just dollar cost your average until you make another impulse up. You got to be careful with that too, because that can bite you too. If you sell off at 48.9 and we go straight up to 57.7, you got to be biting. You're going to be kicking yourself a little bit. But I would always recommend, if you're concerned, take partial profits. Take a little bit off the table, and that way you got some powder, some dry powder to add to your position. You know, if you do make a large retracement, it gives you an opportunity. You can average your way down a little bit and then catch, you know, your profits up higher a little bit. I got both. I've got a long-term position that I keep separate from my trading position, that I just don't touch. You know, I just set it, forget it. I'm not going to touch it for a long time, because you also have to realize, if you're taking profits on any asset, not just Bitcoin, you know, if you're taking short-term profits too much, like on Bitcoin, you got capital gains tax. So unless you're going to be able to make up the difference of taking, you know, your short-term capital gains tax, you know, adding to your position, you know, just a little bit lower is not going to be real profitable for you. You're going to be doing yourself an injustice. And then, yeah, always have the moon bag, man. Especially that's my go-to with altcoins, right? You know, because you just don't know with altcoins. You know how many times, you know, when I first started trading crypto, you know, the same thing. You get a nice run up, you know, you follow the technicals. You're like, hey, it hit the 1618, I'm out, and then the thing goes to the 3618. You know, it's good to take profits, but just leave a little bit in there. You know, that's at least my strategy. Everybody's different, and I'm not telling you how to trade. But if you're talking crypto, man, you just never know what the heck's going to happen. Especially somebody was bringing up ETC a little bit earlier. And this is...
Bitcoin made a huge move up to start the week, but was rejected just above 40,000, right around resistance. Bears started to get...
I don't know why my phone started going right now, but ETC is a great example. Ethereum Classic. Let me just zoom back here. I think... Let me see here. I think this area right here. Right, this is an area that we identified in the Discord and on Twitter. If I could, I think this is the one, right? Yeah. So we were looking at ETC back here in April, and you got this nice rounding bottom formation we were looking at, right? After a massive run up, you come back down and you got this nice rounding bottom reaccumulation. And, you know, if you're looking at standard technical analysis, you know, you think, you know, with crypto, I like the 1618. You know, if you took out your entire position at the 1618, or even if you were going here to, you know, $45, look what happened. It hit the 1618. It hit the 2618. It hit the 3618. And I don't even keep anything higher than that on my fibs. But I mean, we went all the way to $174. And crypto is nice because if you're taking, you know, these type of trades 3 to 1, you can use smaller amounts of money. You should never be trading with anything that you're real nervous about, because it's going to cause you to get out of positions that are profitable. It's going to cause you to, you know, sell before you should. It's going to, you know, if you start to see a little bit of downside, you're going to get wrecked. You're going to be nervous. You know, keep your positions something that works well for you, something you're not worried about. But again, you know, that's why the moon bag is important, because if I was using standard technical analysis, if I was looking at stocks, I would have been out at the highest at 65 bucks. And again, that asset from our trade setup was right here at $37 was our breakout point that we identified. And from that point, from that breakout point, that asset appreciated 355%. Welcome to crypto. But yeah, I would definitely, ooh, Bitcoin is moving again right as the stream's ending. Of course, we couldn't get a nice pump for the stream, huh? I hope I'm not making everybody dizzy here. I'm trying to find my way back to where we're at. All right, so we got a few more minutes. We could check this out, but it looks like Bitcoin is attempting a breakout once again at 39,355. If we start breaking above this zone, watch, you know what? It's going to break out after the stock market's closed, so I can't load up my my Mara and Riot and all the sympathy stocks. Go figure. But anyone watching, keep an eye out. If Bitcoin breaks above 40,500, watch out, because that's the zone right there, man. That's where major price markups can happen. And again, 48,900, you heard it here. That's where I'm looking for, you know, to take a little bit of profits on this move. Yeah, ETC, man, that I could have never dreamed that asset was going to appreciate that much. And I think that was the orange, that's volume profile. If you go up here to the indicators and you type in volume profile, I believe it's that first one. I think that's the one. Yeah, it's by KV4 coins, and that's useful because it tells you where, you know, everyone's buying on. Bitcoin, you got so much volume down here. You know, if you did see a retracement, I would look here and be like, hey, you know, underneath this zone, which is the point of control at about 34.5, you got a lot of people who are going to be underwater if Bitcoin comes down past that. So, you know, that would be an area that I would look to for support. And I do like using the volume profile because of this point of control. This line here, it tells you anything above that zone is bullish. Anything below it is accumulation, is, you know, is bearish. It's just one more thing, you know. I don't like relying on oscillators too much, but they do give you a little bit of an edge. And this might be it. There she goes. And I'm gonna have to leave you guys with that. Keep an eye out. That's your warning. We are above that first area of resistance, 39,432. Building positive momentum once again on the 4-hour chart after showing bullish convergence on the MACD. And she's going. But that's it for me, guys. I appreciate it. We do this every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Again, I'm on Twitter, Trade Nomadic. We've got a Facebook group, Trading Nomadic, if you guys want to join. And again, if you're on my Twitter, that's where these charts go. I've also got my Discord link on Twitter too, if you guys want to join me there. But again, thanks everybody. I will see you guys next week.